Hey guys, we're back for some more Standard. I wanted to build a sideboard and sideboard guide for the new Mono White Humans deck. Also wanted to say thank you guys for your comments. I really do appreciate them. And made a couple changes here as a result. So yeah, one of you guys pointed out that with this list here, kind of using Iganjo and Mirix, maybe it wasn't best suited for laydown arms. And so I did make a change here and replaced it with ossification, which I think is going to be a better fit. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. And yeah, your comments matter a lot. So thank you guys. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing, maybe dropping a like or a comment, or sharing it with a friend who might benefit from it. And thank you guys for all my returning viewers. I really appreciate you. You guys are the backbone of the channel, so thank you so much for your support. Okay, getting into the sideboard. So if you're going to use this deck in best of 3, I think it's a great deck for best of 3. I'm pretty much just planning to do best of 1 with it, but I can certainly see for people who want to get into the best of 3 space, this is a great option. So if you want to check out kind of, what the deck does, check out my last video. If you go to the playlist, it should be in the most recent video here. And I kind of go over each of the cards here in the main deck. Right now I'm just going to talk about the sideboard. So in the sideboard we have 4 copies of Anointed Peacekeeper, 4 copies of Get Lost, 4 copies of Knockout Blow, 2 copies of Ossification, and 1 copy of the Stone Brain. So getting into matchups here, basically you're going to have your Anointed Peacekeepers are going to be more kind of against control-oriented matchups. The Knockout Blow specifically for mono red. Get Lost is going to be a great catch-all against both mid-range decks and also control because it can deal with both planeswalkers, pesky enchantments like Temporary Lockdown, and any creature. And then we've got Ossification for even more removal against planeswalkers or creatures. And the Stone Brain is kind of a specialized card which is used for major problem cards such as Sunfall, Atraxa, Shieldred, cards like that we have time to kind of get off the Stone Brain's effect before they hit the table. Possibly Angel in the Mardu deck or in Domain. If you haven't already, if you know for a fact that you aren't worried about Atraxa, you probably name Atraxa there, but Sunfall is another good option. Or, against mono or blue-white control or Esper control, you could also name, Depopulate. So anyways, Jace is another great option in that matchup against like blue-white mill. Getting into the actual kind of breakdown here, let's take a look. All right, and I'll try to have this posted here in the description as well, but so against mono red, we are going to be taking out 4 Brutal Cathar, 4 Knight Errant Avios, and 2 Werefox Bodyguard. And then we're bringing in 4 Knockout Blow, 4 Anointed Peacekeeper, and 2 Ossification. And so the reason here, kind of removing Knight Errant, which is typically a very good value card, is that against mono red, you just don't have time to do it. It's great, but to convoke it out, you kind of open yourself up for a turn, and you just don't have the breathing room for it. So we're removing all of our kind of top end that typically are used to get rid of creatures and replacing them with sort of more hard removal. So Knockout Blow and Ossification are going to be hard removal. They're not going to give mono red any pieces to kind of construct a strategy, so that's why we're not bringing in Get Lost. Peacekeeper is great because it comes down on turn 3. It's a 3/3 with decent toughness, and it does have vigilance, and potentially can put something out of range. If you're on the play, you can maybe put their Godric out of range or something like that. So I think this is going to be your best bet against mono red aggro. Against blue-white control, Esper control, blue-white mill, you want to take out 4 copies of Brutal Cathar, take out your Lunarch Veterans, since the life gain is just not relevant, and your singleton copy of Ossification. And then part of the reason here is that even though Ossification can hit planeswalkers, is not as important as you might think. Plus, we are also bringing in 4 copies of Get Lost, which can deal with temporary lockdown. A great play is if you have the mana up and they cast temporary lockdown, you can Get Lost in response, and then that way you don't lose your team. Kind of in the same way that if someone Brutal Cathars you and you kill it in response, you don't actually lose your guy. And then 4 copies of Peacekeeper to put like their Sunfalls out of range, and then the Stone Brain. You can use that to name Sunfall, Depopulate, Jace the Perfected Mind. Again, not as worried about naming Lockdown since we have Get Lost to deal with it. We can also use our Hopeful Initiate if we have 2 counters and 3 mana up with that same trick where if they try to do temporary lockdown, you can just blow it up in response and not lose anything. Okay, against Mono Black, take out 4 Brutal Cathars and 3 Lunarch Veterans, and then we're going to be bringing in 2 copies of Ossification, 4 copies of Get Lost, and the Stone Brain. So here, we're basically just bringing in hard removal. The Stone Brain is going to be useful for naming like Gix's Command, Path of Peril, 2 of their sweepers, or Shieldred, if you're in a board state where you need that. Against Selesnya Enchantments, we're going to be cutting 4 copies of Knight Errant of Eos and 3 of the Recruitment Officers. Again, the reason for this is you just don't have time to be tapping out. It's pretty aggressive. They're gaining tons of life, doing tons of damage. Basically, we're just trying to contain them as quickly as possible. And so with that, we're going to be bringing in more hard removal, Ossification, 2 copies of Ossification, 4 copies of Get Lost, and the Stone Brain. The Stone Brain here, this is kind of arguable whether you bring it in or not. However, there are some serious cards here that give us a lot of trouble. So if you have time to get it off and name like Calyx Guided by Fate, Weaver, I can't remember the full name of, the 2/2 guy who gives +1/+1 and can copy stuff. The Weaver is super annoying. And then Michiko's Reign of Truth is another good target for it. But there's really a ton of good targets for it. So that's what I would do for Selesnya Enchantments. Against Mono White Humans or the Mirror, this is kind of also, similar to like Boros Convoke, Boros Humans. Basically, we're just, maybe, I guess Boros Convoker might be a little bit different since Thalia is a little bit better there. But in Mono White Humans for the Mirror specifically, Thalia is just not as amazing. They don't really cast any spells. We don't really cast many spells. The First Strike is relevant. However, I think that Ossification is just going to be better. And we want sort of everything else we're already doing. So I think just giving ourselves more removal to win the Brutal Cathar fight is going to be great. Against Esper Legends / Esper Midrange. Here you want to cut 4 copies of Lunarch Veteran, 4 copies of Recruitment Officer, 3 copies of Recruitment Officer, and 4 copies of Knight Errant of Eos. Similar deal here. Knight Errant, again, is a great card, but we're cutting out a lot of our 1-drops, which really help power it out, and we just don't necessarily have the breathing room to tap out for it. So in its place, we will be bringing in 4 copies of Anointed Peacekeeper, 4 copies of Get Lost, 2 copies of Ossification, and 1 copy of the Stone Brain. Here again, we're just bringing in those 6 pieces of hard removal. We're bringing in Peacekeeper to help put like their Rafines, Wedding Announcements, Virtue of Loyalty out of range. And then the Stone Brain would also name those targets. If we can strip that out of their deck, you can put yourself in a pretty strong position. I guess Urtai would be another one you could name. The 4 mana come in, counter something. But I think that these are the big targets. Versus Rakdos Control, they have a ton of sweepers, so this is a tough match. But we can, here I would take out your Brutal Cathars, your Lunarch Veterans, since they're not pressuring as much in the early game. 2 Knight Errant of Eos, and 1 Hopeful Initiate. And what I would bring in is 4 copies of Anointed Peacekeeper, 2 copies of Ossification, 4 copies of Get Lost, and 1 copy of the Stone Brain. Again, similar plan here. We're bringing in our Peacekeepers to put their sweepers out of range. We're bringing in hard removal for their difficult threats like Bonehorde Dracosaur, Shieldred, Decadent Dragon, Chandra, Hope's Beacon. They have a lot of really nasty big game stuff. Virtue Persistence, you know. And then with the Stone Brain, again, you're going to name one of those. You could name Brotherhood's End, Burn Down the House, Path of Peril. They have, you know, a plethora of sweepers here as well. So this is a tough match, but this is how I would board for it. Versus Golgari Midrange, you want to cut your 4 Brutal Cathars, 4 Lunarch Veterans, 2 Knight Errants, and 1 Hopeful Initiate. So similar plan here. And again, we're just bringing in that hard removal, the Peacekeepers, and the Stone Brain. Except this time we'd be looking for naming either Gix, Yawgmoth Praetor, which is really nasty with their lifelink bats. This is going to be another card you would name like in like the Dimir matchup, the Boats and Bats deck. You could name Gix's Command, Path of Peril, Shieldred, Glissa, Liliana, Virtue Persistence. You have a lot of good targets there. I don't have it typed out here for Dimir or Domain, but yeah, in Domain, you're bringing in pretty similar stuff here. You want to have your hard answers for their tough to deal with threats like Angel or their Atraxa. You bring in the Stone Brain, the Get Lost, the Ossification, Peacekeeper. You're pretty much using the same plan. So all that said, I hope this is helpful. If you guys like Best of 3, I'm going to be putting in like a link in the description for future videos referencing back to this video for the sideboard guide. So if you do like to play Best of 3, you know, which I think certainly some of my viewers do, you'll have some good, you know, good useful stuff here, hopefully. All right, with all that said, let's hop into some games. It is going to be Best of 1, and I'm just trying to kind of go up here on ladder, so I haven't had a chance to play a ton, but it has been really fun, and this is just a deck that I, you know, I'm fairly familiar with, I really enjoy, and I think it's very well positioned right now. Although I will also say that I am super excited about the upcoming Murders at Karlov Manor set that's coming out next week, and I've been spending a decent amount of time looking at the full spoiler, just trying to figure out like what's going to be best in draft. I'm so stoked about doing some limited. So there's going to be a lot of draft and limited in this next couple weeks, I'm hoping. All right, yeah, this hand looks great. We've got turn 1 Veteran. We don't have a turn 2 play here, but we do have some nice removal. And this is good, especially against Selesnya, having access to this stuff. So a little bit kind of a slow start here, but I mean, this is the kind of hand you want against Selesnya anyways. Whew, this is going to be nasty. All right, so, good lord. Yeah, I think we just have to, I suppose we could go to 10 here, but probably better to like jump in front of this grenade since it doesn't have trample yet. All right, so we definitely want to go ahead and get rid of, I think, Weaver, because they can copy this and it just gets completely out of hand. It's still going to be really nasty, though. Like, this is going to hit for a decent amount of damage next turn. So there's an argument for getting rid of Naturalist instead, since it does have lifelink. They're already at 30, and so it's going to take a while to get this back into order, and it does make their stuff cheaper, so I guess they only have one more turn of this, and Weaver won't be able to target anything else, so maybe the plan is just take out Naturalist here. Yeah, actually, I think that might be better. And now we could try to use Werefox Bodyguard. We've also got Iganjo that we can use. The nice thing here about Bodyguard is that we can actually just pass the turn and then be able to flip our Cathar, which is going to be great. So I think that's the play, and then we've got both Iganjo and Werefox ready. The ossification is rough. So what we could do is we could Bodyguard in response to hit our own Moonrage Brute. But I guess if they get back the Naturalist, it's not the end of the world. It's annoying, certainly. But I think these, you know, Weavers are a bit more dangerous, actually. Plus, we'd have to pay 3 life just to target it ourselves. And now we can actually just use the Iganjo. Okay, so now we're facing a ton of damage. We probably have to use Bodyguard on one of the portraits. I suppose actually if we do it on Weaver, these shrink 2 each, then they're both 4/4s. So well, we still probably have to chump here, unfortunately. I guess we can chump with Veteran. Just trying to be mana efficient here. So I guess the other thing we could do here is we could use Bodyguard to get rid of one of the portraits, but the problem is when it dies, it's going to and then block the Weaver. Yeah, I think we're better off just going for Weaver here. Now we can, if we block Visitor, we still die. So I think we have to block one of the portraits. I guess we could have Werefox Bodyguard block the Naturalist. If we block that and the Visitor, I mean, these things get large again is the problem. Yeah, okay, so I think we do block one of the 4/4s like this, go down to 3. This is probably the move. Okay, now with Adversary, we can double pump, bring this up to a 4/4, and then we can use Adversary to block one of these portraits and not die. So the Adversary would be 5 power. We could gain 5 life. We could also go like Warden into Knight Errant. We'd have to get a little lucky. I suppose if we go Warden, Adversary. I think we're better off just going for big Adversary here, to be honest. We could also go like single pump plus Warden and then have an extra blocker. Then this would still be a 4 power and able to trade with a portrait, but if they play something, it wouldn't be big enough. So I think I'm going to go for double pump. Actually, I think maybe we go for Warden because then we have an extra blocker, and then because we don't want to block with Werefox Bodyguard on the Naturalist if we're blocking here, because then that would die also. If we have the Warden, though, we can trade with Naturalist. Yeah, I think we do it once and then play Warden to have an extra blocker. Not sure if this is correct, but I think having the extra blocker is important since we're at 3. Otherwise, if they like all in, we're forced to trade with Bodyguard. Let's see, I suppose, yeah, because if they play an enchantment, or if they don't play anything, this would be a 5 power. If they attack with everything, we block here, go to 8. Yeah, maybe it would have been better to double pump, actually, coming back to it. Audacity is super rough. So we're forced to double block here. Drop down to 1 and then up to 5. Problem is they get a draw. Whew, Calyx is a rough one. Okay, Brutal Cathar is what we need for sure. So 6 mana, we can go Brutal Cathar into Knight Errant. We're at 5. So if we get Calyx, yeah, I think Calyx is by far the more dangerous of the two here. So if we Brutal Cathar for Calyx, and then go Knight Errant, if they attack with both and don't draw something else, if they draw like land here, we can try to stabilize. Okay, this is good. Now we can go for Adversary. And then I think we also need Officer to start drawing cards. Could also go for like Lunarch Veteran. That's another option. I think it's just a little too weak though. I think we need to draw our way out of this. Okay, Companion. Hopefully they whiff. Not a whiff. Okay, well, this sucks. We're forced to chump. Okay, that's a good draw. Okay, so now if we use Cathar to take out Weaver, we could just play everything out here. So Cathar takes out Weaver. That shrinks their team a little bit. We play Adversary. Adversary can block with... So this will be a 4/4. God, do we have to take out... We might have to take out Michiko here. Otherwise, if we like double pump with Adversary, is that enough? I think they have too much. They can push with too much here. Yeah, I think we've got to go for Cathar on Weaver. And then Adversary, no pump, plus Officer to chump. We were like holding on by a fingernail here. I mean, this is just, whew. Hopefully that's the stone cold nothing in their hand. We can try to draw out next turn. Okay, so they attack like that. I think we block like this. And then we gain 3, go to 1. We won't be able to draw with Officer, which sucks. But I mean, otherwise we die, so there's always that. Okay. Now we try to wait for a second creature here and just hold the line. Make a Mirrex token. Hopefully we can draw our way out. Kami. Okay. Okay, we're not there yet. I guess theoretically we play it out just because we could potentially draw like another Mirrex or something. And yeah, I think we just sit because I don't think we can start getting aggressive here. I guess if we, like, there's so many things that they could draw. I think we've got to hold ourselves back to try to get that second creature. Like 6 power of first strike is what's holding us into this game right now. Oof, ossification is super rough. That might be enough to do it. Yeah, we really needed them to not have that card. And as long as they attack with all 3, we're just dead. So we could sack the bodyguard to gain 2 life. I mean, like, I think we're so far behind at that point, though. Like, we go to, so if we block here, sack bodyguard, go to 3. This pumps everything. Actually, we do first strike damage on. I guess that's how we do it. So, block here. Stop it on damage. First strike damage. Now we sack this. Oh, right. It can. I forgot the Calyx trigger. Yeah, we're dead either way. Oh well, good game. We fought with everything we had. They just had a little bit too aggressive of a start. But I love all the removal in the deck. I mean, I think that it's definitely moving in the right direction. It does also make me wonder if it's better to have like a 3-3 split on Brutal Cathar and the Werefox, since Werefox can allow you to tap out and still be able to do something. Okay, it looks like we're up against Dinosaurs. This is also potentially a really crazy matchup. They have so many insane top-end stuff here. But no quick start for them, at least not yet. They also don't run a ton of spells, so I think we might want to go Copper Coat here. I guess they could always like throw away their 7/6 Discover Guy to kill it, but I think that's fine, honestly. I'd rather see that than have it played on turn 6. So I think we go Copper Coat into Adeline. Just try to get a little bit aggressive. Oh, God, I forgot about Fight Rigging. Yeah, Thalia would have been better by a lot. Completely forgot about Fight Rigging. And they always have the Pugnacious Hammer Skull to go with the Fight Rigging. Oh man, this is not good. Whew. Okay, so yeah, we may have just lost the game by not playing Thalia. That is a metric ton of damage coming at us. The play here, though, I think, is Thalia, because then we can use Iganjo when they plus first strike to stop their Carnosaur. Although I suppose that they probably use Fight Rigging to make it an 8/7, so that doesn't actually work. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what they do. I guess if we go for Adeline, we can just, I guess, just take 15 and try to race them. It's just so bad. We might have to just, like, play that they put the counter on the wrong creature. That might have to be how this goes. Yeah, I completely forgot about Fight Rigging. That's definitely what ties this deck together. I guess it's Thalia plus the human token on Carnosaur plus Iganjo. Actually, never mind. We've got a 3-power Thalia thanks to Copper Coat, so we can use Thalia plus Iganjo to take out Hammer Skull. And then just take 9. Doesn't feel great, but I think that's the plan. Okay, that was a perfect draw. Oh man, we needed that so badly. Now they can swing in. This would be a 5/6, but we're at 11, so I think we're fine with that. Doesn't give haste, does it? No, thank God. Okay, so now they're at 9. If we do Adeline plus Warden and just like full send, they block here and here, and they would take 6, go to 3. It's not enough. So is it better to try to... Problem is they're pushing in for so much damage next turn. It's insane. Maybe it's like Adeline attack with 2 humans and just try to push a little damage. Adeline plus Warden. I think that might be the play. Could also potentially throw Thalia away, although Thalia is pretty good at dealing with these dinosaurs, but if they put any counters on them, it doesn't really work anymore. And we can push a little bit of extra damage if we attack with Thalia also. I guess we could even attack with Copper Coat, but that feels kind of silly. Then we're pushing 7 damage. They'd be down to 2. I think that actually might be the move. So if we attack, if we full send, block, take 6. Yeah, it's not enough. Here they take probably block. They take 5. I think we hold on to the Copper Coat. It's super valuable for like the attack next turn. So I think we just send like this. And then Warden, we just, I don't think we need to scry if we want to survive. Yeah, I'm trying to think if it would have been better to like hold Thalia back and just push 2 damage instead of pushing 4. Okay, Dracosaur is pretty nasty. Only attacking with Hatcher. Interesting. Okay, I think we throw Warden in front of the bus. Do we kill it? I suppose we could trade it with Adeline. If we do... So if it trades... Oh yeah, I think we must have had enough on the way back. I guess we did. We've had some really close games here. These have been... Man, I gotta say that having actual removal is pretty sweet. Yeah, this hand looks just fine. Definitely need to draw into at least a land, but other than that, doing okay. Okay, up against Golgari. suppose they run like Cut Down and Go for the Throat. We could run Thalia here. They also have Liliana, so I think even though Coppercoat can push some more damage, I think I want to get Thalia going. And I think that the 3/2, they can do the Adventure, which is also a spell, so there's that too. Still no third land, but things are looking pretty good. So now they have enough for Go for the Throat, which I assume they're going to use on Coppercoat. Edict, sure. Yeah, there's the Go for the Throat. Land is pretty sweet. Yeah, that's going to do it. Yeah, well, that was a nice couple set of games there. Okay, let's take a look at the stats real quick. All right, so we are currently 75% win rate, 6 wins and 2 losses. Just kind of getting sort of a feel for the deck, kind of getting my feet wet. But yeah, really enjoying it so far. I hope you guys enjoyed the sideboard guide and found that useful. And then also, if you guys haven't checked out the Kumite tournament that Ace MTG hosted and invited me to, I do have those videos coming out at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time each day, and so it's going to be going for the next couple days until we get through the finals. So if you haven't checked it out, please check it out. I did see a comment from a viewer who said that the links to the other content creators was not working, and so I've updated and corrected all of those. So if you go into the description and want to check out the other players' channels, they should be working now. So anyways, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow.